Hi folks, the Filipino P here, and it's time for another journey deep into the jungles of Filipino culture. Whether you hate to love us, love to hate us, or hopefully love to love us, we have some customs and traditions that can seem wacky, funny, and sometimes downright confusing to you foreigners. And as your self-appointed ambassador to the Philippines, it's my job to make sense of it, if I can. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to me either. So let's take a look at why many Filipinos head indoors at the first sign of rain, and why we have to test everything before selling it to you, and why so many of us are still wearing those darn masks. Once foreigners have lived in the Philippines for a while, they tend to get used to many of the things I'm about to mention. They just become part of daily life, and you learn to accept them without even questioning it anymore. But for you new arrivals, sometimes the way we do things here can be surprising, amusing, or frustrating. And those are some of the things I want to talk about today. So let's start with a simple hand gesture like this. To you, it probably looks like I'm agreeing with whatever you just said. It's an okay sign, right? Nope, not here. To us, it's the number 3. 1, 2, 3. We start counting with our little finger until we reach the thumb at 5. Whereas in some other countries, you might start with your thumb as a number 1 and your little finger as 5. So if you ask your Filipino partner if she wants a bracelet for Christmas and she goes like this, you better show up with 3 bracelets or there's gonna be some splaining to do as she wonders how you could possibly have gotten things so horribly wrong. It's the same kind of situation when we're asking you to come over here. We do this. Now to many of you guys, that's clearly saying to go away. The exact opposite meaning. You can imagine how much confusion that can create. I was watching a couple at the grocery store a while back, and the foreigner pulled his cart up to the checkout area and got into a really long line, as if there's any other kind here. While his Filipina took off to try to find a shorter line. She found one and was trying to get his attention by waving. He noticed her and started to push the cart towards her, but then she did this. And he looked really confused before pushing the cart back into the long line. And then this continued back and forth until the foreigner guy just gave up and stayed where he was. I knew what was going on, but in true Filipino fashion, I wasn't gonna get involved. And besides, it was just too much fun to watch. It's just one of those things that makes it more fun in the Philippines. So since we're on the topic of stores, let's talk about why the heck we have this obsession with testing things. If you ever try to buy anything like a light bulb or an electronic device, you know that there's no way you're going to be allowed to pay for it before it's been thoroughly tested. If you pick up a bunch of light bulbs and take them to the cashier, the first thing she's going to say is, "Have this been tested?" You might give her a strange look and wonder what she's talking about. But you're expected to go back to the department where you found them and search for someone to remove each one from its packaging, plug them in one by one into an outlet, and then put them back into their boxes so you can go pay for them. And if you dare to buy something as complicated as a TV, you might want to allocate an extra half hour to the process while you wait for the salesman to completely unbox it, styrofoam and all. Then tear open the bag of batteries for the controller and proceed to test out every possible function of the TV. Now the obvious question is, why? The stuff comes with warranties, right? So if you get home and it stops working after a day, can't you just take it back? Well, yes, you can, after a giant hassle of paperwork. So why test a brand new product beforehand? It seems like a giant waste of time for everyone. I honestly don't know the answer, but almost all stores do it. So if somebody knows what the deal is, please let me know. Next, let's talk about giving directions in the Philippines. Here's a sentence you'll probably never hear. The restaurant you're looking for is a kilometer west of here. So why won't you ever hear that? Because most Filipinos don't use north, south, east, or west. We use landmarks. In our heads, things aren't laid out like a grid with something being above something else. To us, the location of something depends on what it's next to. The system works fine as long as you're in a smaller town, But when you're talking about directions across an island, it gets a little trickier. Good thing we have Google Maps. Now here's something I like to call the never-ending story. It's a habit that lots of people, usually women, use all over the world. But we Filipinas have made an art form out of it. We love to video chat. Doesn't everyone? But our chats can last for hours, even if we're not actually talking. Sometimes we'll put the phone down, go do something else for 10 minutes, then come back and pick up where we left off. And the other person just waits there, like it was expected. Now, unless you're talking to your wife or girlfriend, you guys are more interested in exchanging information as quickly as possible than going off to do something else. But we Filipinos like to call a friend, a coworker, or a member of the family and just hang out on the phone and spend the whole day with them. Hopefully that won't cause any problems in your relationship. But if it does, go easy on us, okay? It's just what we do. So here's a little cultural difference, more like a point of etiquette that might catch you off guard when you see people doing it. But fortunately, you have me here to tell you about it beforehand. Now, this is considered rude in some cultures and perfectly acceptable in others. But don't be surprised if you sit down for a meal and the Filipinos around you are eating and talking with our mouths open. I know some of you guys were taught there was a mortal sin to let people see the contents of your mouth. And I'm sure you also heard the phrase, "Don't talk with your mouth full," a million times. But we're just not that picky about it. And as I described a long time ago, you might even have people sticking their fingers into a common plate of food and handling it to get whatever they want. That's our version of eating family style. Don't say I didn't warn you. Next, let's talk about rain. We Filipinos have a love-hate relationship with the rain. Okay, mostly just hate. Because as soon as a couple drops start to fall, Filipinos whip out an umbrella. And if we don't have one, we'll shoot indoors. If we can do either one of those, we'll put our hand on our head, like that would do any good. Even if we're swimming and it starts to rain, we'll be out of the water like we're being chased by a shark, even though we're already soaked. But why? Well, it's a combination of things. For one thing, we have a lot of pollution in the big cities, and we don't want all that yucky stuff sticking to us. That sounds reasonable, but a more common belief is that if the rain hits you, even out in the provincial areas, you'll get sick. Now, I don't know of any evidence for that, but a huge majority of us believe it. And then there are some people, usually women, that just don't want to get their clothes soaked, and they don't think that walking around like that is a good look. But I'm sure to most of you guys, there are worse sights than a wet Filipina. But for whatever reason, if the storm clouds gather, expect the street to empty. Okay, here's one that produces varying degrees of shock and alarm, depending on what you're used to. We've all seen videos of a cat that was sleeping peacefully until someone walked up behind it and shouted, causing it to boing straight up into the air. It really is funny for us humans to watch, but not so much fun for the cat. Well, that can also be you, sitting at a cafe, getting into a zen state of mind as you enjoy your meal. And then the waiter standing behind you decides to shout into your ear as he calls to another waiter to let him know that they're out of lettuce again. Depending on your temperament, that could make you jump out of your chair like it was electrified. Or you might be one of those people that grew up in a house with 10 kids and doesn't even faze you. We Filipinos aren't very familiar with the term inside voices, and sometimes we can be pretty loud. Anyone who's ever sat through the happy birthday song over the sound system at a restaurant can attest to that. But it's not only indoors. Car horns, people yelling and shouting, blowing whistles, just about anything you can imagine to upset the peace. We don't even notice it, but the Philippines might not be the best choice for people who suffer from PTSD. Now this one is about the definition of a word that we use differently than you do. If a Filipino hears you talk and says you use slang in your speech, they don't mean you're using colorful metaphors like calling a dog a pooch or calling a cat a puss in boots. For us, slang means speaking with an accent. It doesn't have to be a southern accent. It can be any kind of accent that makes it difficult to understand. Any foreigner whose first language isn't English can be told they're speaking slang, but it's not an insult. It's just our way of saying that the language barrier is real, and we're getting a nosebleed. And finally, I'd like to know what's up with the wearing of masks. It's been over a month since the Philippines dropped the mask mandate, and the only place you have to wear them is on public transportation and a few indoor locations. But I did an informal survey yesterday, and about 90% of the people on the streets are still wearing their masks. It's like the prison warden opened the doors to the cells, but the prisoners don't want to leave. It's like it's become a permanent habit. But why? Are people still afraid of getting sick? Or are they just used to them? Or is it now some kind of fashion statement? I have no clue. I'm planning on doing a video on it where I walk around and ask people why they're still wearing them. But until then, I'm at a loss to explain it. So I look forward to your theories in the comment section. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. And I hope you enjoyed our little foray into Filipino culture. I'll be back on Tuesday with the last video before the amazing Christmas special. It's getting close, folks. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you in a few days. If you think about it, I'm kind of like the girl next door. No costumes, no superpowers, just someone who keeps their eyes and ears open and knows how to get you the information you need when trying to learn about life in the Philippines. I'm familiar with Western culture, and I know my own, so I can be a valuable resource when it comes to all things Filipino. If you enjoy my channel and want to help it grow, please hit the thumbs up button on this video, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and consider checking out my Patreon page where you'll find exclusive videos and features. And you can rest assured that I'll be bringing you fresh, high-quality content twice a week. See you around the neighborhood! Oh, I almost forgot. Can I borrow a cup of sugar?